Welcome to Unifier TV, where truth has no fear. I came across this YouTube channel called Man vs. Street, and there's this video that I found. It's very interesting. It's over a year, well, it's about a year old, but you know, the mindsets, the stupidity, and the just outright ignorance of liberals have not changed at all, and they really think that they're making a significant positive change, but in reality, they just don't know what the hell they're talking about.
So if you guys could change the Constitution in one way, how would you change it?
Perverse, gov major.
Georgetown University. I was literally going to say legalize abortion.
Maybe abortion laws, you know?
Rights to abortion, like transgender, rights to have surgery without necessarily parental consent.
All kinds of red flags, right? We already know how I feel about abortion, all that kind of stuff. There should be no rights to it. I understand that. Now, see, when these feminists and these people say rights to abortion, they don't always simply mean in the case of a medical emergency. They want people to be able to simply go have an abortion if they feel like that's what's best for them, or if they have an unplanned pregnancy and they slip up, or whatever it is. They want to be able to simply go into any doctor's office and say, look, I messed up, I need you to get rid of this. And then when you challenge them on this, they want to bring up, well, what about health problems? What about this and that? So your sole reason for wanting abortion to be 1,000% legal is because of health issues and all these, and incest and all these other things they bring up. I want to see the statistics on that, though. You know, termination of this child could be necessary in a medical emergency, maybe so, but that doesn't mean it should be 100% legal for anyone to walk into any facility and just get it done just because. It needs to be proven that it's medically necessary first.
Yes, you have freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean you have right to sit there and scream at someone because they choose to change their gender or they love the same sex, things like that.
So should we add trans rights?
No, nobody yells at anybody for loving the same sex. People don't even yell at anybody for changing their gender. It's only when they want to push all that garbage on kids and go out marching and have all these people these weird people show up at libraries reading to kids and all that kind of stuff. That's the only time people go out there and get mad. Other than that, nobody cares what y'all do. Nobody really cares. Now, do people disagree with it? Yeah, but nobody's going to jump in your face and yell at you unless they're really extreme. And there are people out there like that. But the majority of conservatives and people who are Christian or are against these things aren't going to jump in your face. They're going to disagree. They might look at you funny. But it's not until you force it on us to accept it that we started having a problem where we have to start getting loud on you.
It's to the Constitution?
Absolutely.
Definitely adding in like policies that like make healthcare more accessible for like immigrants as well as like people in low-income communities. I just think we need to get the old white.
Healthcare has always been accessible to people in low-income communities. Seriously, though. I grew up extremely poor. We had health coverage. So it's not a question of health coverage not being accessible to people in low-income communities. It's there. It's there. Why the hell should it be accessible to immigrants? They're not paying money. They're not paying taxes for that to be accessible to them. Let them go get treatment in Mexico or wherever they're from. Wherever country they're from, go get treated there. And if you're having a health crisis, that's totally different. But to have them get free health care or, you know, make it more affordable for people who aren't even here to pay taxes, for what? Make it make sense to me.
White fucks out of power, but that's not really a Constitution issue.
Putting that in the Constitution amendment, get rid of the old white people?
Yes.
Somebody over there says they believe there should be like a trans amendment, like a trans protections amendment. Is that something that you believe should be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you guys want to add?
Well, Second Amendment needs to be altered because it was written at a time when there weren't assault rifles that kill hundreds of people.
So assault rifles didn't exist back then, and maybe they didn't, but a weapon is a weapon. You can kill anyone with a slow loading rifle, with a handgun. It doesn't matter if it's automatic. You can, if you want to take someone out, you can and will do it if that's what you're trying to do. And rewriting the Constitution to have provisions for automatic weapons doesn't make a bit of sense because it has nothing to do with the weapon. It has to do with the person holding it. And these people who are all up against the Second Amendment and the right to carry forget that there's a black market. So changing the Second Amendment, changing gun laws, or doing away with guns is not going to change anything because there's a black market. There's no reason to change the law. Doesn't make sense at all.
Gun issues we're having right now, I feel like those definitely need to be changed.
Anybody shouldn't be able to purchase a firearm. That shouldn't be the case.
we are very behind as far as especially firearms. I don't think everyone has the right to own them anymore. I mean, violence, and this country has the most mass killings. I think that definitely needs to be updated.
You would change the Second Amendment?
Yes, absolutely.
That'd be your number one?
Absolutely.
Apply like almost like a time clause, whether not looking at the Constitution nowadays, but in the context of back then, and trying to apply the same exact strict interpretation of it.
The Constitution. Oh God. Okay, that's just like saying that you should probably revise the Bible because the kind of stuff, the kind of stuff that we see nowadays, it's not necessarily as applicable as what was going on back then. Just like the Bible being timeless, because the same stuff that was going on then is the same stuff going on now, maybe in a broader fashion. Maybe it's more on the front line now. It's the same stuff is the reason why the Constitution was written in the first place. There's nothing new under the sun. And there's no such thing as implementing it in a stronger fashion as back then. Do the same thing today. It's implemented the same, but people just don't care as much because we had an administration like we had the past 4 years that basically acted like the Constitution didn't matter. So it has nothing to do with how the Constitution is implemented. It has to do with the administration making sure that the Constitution is followed.
We have to like just every couple of years redo it, as you're saying?
Not redo, but you don't have to interpret it in the way that it was written in that context, because context changes throughout time.
It was rules written 100% by men, and so it had no female input. So I feel like it's missing. I know you guys are both males, but you guys kind of think one track, and I feel like even adding in people who are trans, queer, LGBTQ, women, even younger people, like, would get a more holistic view of what our rules should be.
We don't need the Quartering Act.
There should be no special rules for LGBTQ, women, young people like that. The law is the law, rules are rules. Why should there be special provisions for anybody? For anybody. So what if men, the men that you hate, decide, we need a men's only law. A law that elevates men to a certain, so we could just be the supreme everything. Y'all have a problem with that, but you want special provisions for gay folks, women. The Constitution was written by men because men were the understood leaders. This is way before the women had the right to vote. So yes, of course, the Constitution was written by men because men were in charge. Men were on the front lines, and it was an understood order. We need to get back to that.
Want us to be able to put troops in your house?
No.
That's the Quartering Act.
I know we don't need it.
But like, what if they want to put troops in your house?
I would very much gladly decline.
That's why we have the Quartering Act.
Yeah, that's why we should remove it.
You don't have, no, the Quartering Act keeps them out of your house. That's what the act does. It doesn't keep them in your house.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, they never know what the hell they're talking about. Typical liberal likes to keep spitting out these talking points that their favorite, liberal or man-hating figure kicks out there. They want to just echo the same thing, but they don't know what they're talking about. Clearly, they never do.
And I wish I had the Constitution in front of me. I feel like I can't remember all of it, but it does seem like it hasn't been updated, and I feel like we're upholding rules that were also enacted when slavery was allowed. So it just
Take a real good look at her hand. There's a reason why that damn finger is empty.
feels like the fact that we've moved on from some of these.
Well, there is an amendment
I'd say
that
that
got
now.
rid of that, but
Yes, but I'm saying at the time that the Constitution was made, all of that was legal.
yeah.
And the Constitution hasn't changed, really. Like, sure, there's been some sort of amendments, but
Man, look, the world is full of ignorant people. That's why the last administration made it into office in the first place. I understand that was stolen, but, they had another shot this past election. They had too much of a shot this past election because there's a lot of ignorant people out there like this video full of people. If you notice, you didn't see any men on there talking like that. And there are men out there who believe this crap, but at the same time, there aren't a whole lot of men who think this way. And she said, men think one track. No, men are more practical. They go after what makes sense. So what do y'all think about that video, man? Tap the closest liberal on the shoulder or just slap him for me.